Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be modeling an airplane engine in Blender. The purpose of this lesson is to teach you some basic modeling techniques, but also just some tips and how you can use simple shapes, simple geometry, and you can create something rather complex like an airplane engine. I also want to teach you how to rotate the propellers. This is something that I've seen that people tend to struggle with, and I think this principle is rather good because if you can learn how to rotate the propellers, when you're designing, when you're placing them within your airplane engine, then you could make potentially rims, car wheels. You could make a wind turbine with similar principles. There's so many things that you could use this to make. It's a principle. So let's get started. Let's start with our general file. Let's open up our general file in Blender. And the first thing I want to do is that I want to press Shift A to add. Let's say we want to add a circle, right? We want to start with a circle. That's going to give us something to work with quite well. Let's start with our circle, and we want to rotate our circle on the x-axis. We want to rotate it 90 degrees. We also want to scale this up. We can scale this up pressing S and pressing 5, and we can scale it up that much, but that's probably too much. So how about 2? No, probably around 3. That's perfect. Let's move that up. G, Z, and move that up. So there we have it. We have our circle. Now, if we tab in, we can actually fill this circle rather easy. Then we can then with face selected, we can press I and insert. Once you get this inserted to around that much, we can press I and insert. Once we get it inserted, we can then move this forward just a little bit. And then we can insert this a little bit more. And we can move this back. Then we want to insert this a little bit more. And then insert this once again and move it backwards, pressing G, Y to move it backwards. Then what we want to do is scale this down. We want to scale it down that much. Now you see these faces right here. We can delete those faces. We can press Alt to select all of these faces, then press X to delete faces. And there you have it, faces are deleted. But you still got your circular object and it's perfectly aligned, which is what I like to see. Let's press 2 on our number pad. Let's select the edge selectors, Alt to select this edge. And amazing thing with an airplane engine is that you need to move this backwards. You need to move this backwards, almost like that. And I'm just extruding by pressing E, Y to extrude. And then I can sort of shape this down. And that's actually not too bad. Using S, we can just scale this down. How does that look? I don't think that looks too bad. In fact, I don't think that looks too bad at all. And it's in its most basic form. So if we tab back in, we can select this face right here. This is what we want to continue working with. And then what we can actually do is extrude this a little bit, and we can then scale this down. And then we can insert once again, and we can move this back. That's not bad. Do remember to save your work. It's really important to save your work. I press Control S and I can save my document almost immediately. There's so many different ways to design an airplane engine, but we're going to stick to the most basic thing. We're going to go to Tune on a number pad, select this edge loop right there. We can then extrude this a little bit and extrude it once again and scale this inwards. You can scale it inwards a little bit more. Now with this, we can then extrude once again on the y-axis, and this is where our propellers will connect to, essentially. Kind of. It's nothing special. It's just a more general design. And if we want, we can press Alt Z and we can have X-ray mode. We can select all of this. And if we want to move this backwards, we can move this backwards without affecting the rest of our objects. Because airplane engines, the propellers tend to be further inside the actual object, and that's something important that we need to remember. It's rather a small airplane engine, but we can always affect this design a little bit later on. We can always move this back a little bit more if we wanted to. We can always add a loop cut right there and scale this up a little bit more, give it more of a proper kind of design. So we can always change things. Now, if I press number 1 on a number pad, I get face select. Next thing we want to do is we want to move our cursor to object selected. So set, now with this object selected, we can press Shift S and then we can do cursor to selected. That's brilliant. We want to deselect it. And then what we can add from here, we can probably just add a plane and we can rotate this plane along the y-axis by 90 degrees. There we have it. We can scale this plane down on the y-axis as well. And then we can move this plane backwards, essentially. Now with the bottom face, we want to select this bottom face, press GZ and move this up. And then with the top face, we can press GZ and move this up as well. But how far up do we want it to go? You know, that's an important question. But within this, we want to add some rotations. You know, we can start rotating it like that, you know, and then we can continue to sort of scale that up in a sense. With the entire object selected, we can probably even scale this outwards if we want it, you know, to look a bit more sophisticated. We can tab in, select all, and we can even extrude. We can extrude rather simple. And once we extrude, we can press Control 2 and we can add a subdivision. With our subdivision added, we can add almost anything we want. We can start adding some loop cuts. We can add some loop cuts all the way around. But the thing about airplane engines is that, you know, these things, they tend to be rather sharp on the edges. I don't know if you've noticed, but the propellers, they tend to be rather sharp. So if we wanted to scale this down, we could select these two and we can simply scale this inwards if we wanted to. What we can actually do is select one of these edges, double press G, and we can move this aside. We can essentially make it a little bit sharper if we want. And there you have it. It's looking rather sharp now. If we shade smooth, that's actually not looking too bad. But something key to keep in mind, you know, with the bottom of the propellers lower down here, it's usually a little bit more smaller, while with the top it's usually a bit more wider. And we can press R and Z to add a more twist to it. That's looking quite interesting. And if you find that it's too high, we can tab back. We can tab back in, even in X-ray mode, and we can press GZ and bring this down. In fact, with these edges, we can bring these down as well, if we wanted to. There we go. That's actually looking quite interesting now. Now it's looking like a proper airplane engine, you know? It's getting there little by little. With these propellers, how do we rotate it around our object? By essentially duplicating it. So if I duplicate my object, so the cursor and the origin are at the object. That's brilliant. So what we can do with the based object, with the base engine selected, we can go to the top, transform pivot point. We can go to 3D cursor and it becomes quite simple from here. Let's select our airplane propeller, and from here we can duplicate. That's Shift D, we got to duplicate, and then we can press R and rotate. That's quite simple. So from here you can just continue doing this, and if you like, if it gets boring, you can make it a little bit of a game if you'd like. But another thing is that if you're enjoying these tutorials, you can leave a like, you know, you can leave a like, you can subscribe, you know, and leave a comment to join the community. When people join the community by leaving a comment, I like to reply. So from here, what we want to do is essentially select the propellers, select them one by one, and then you can group these objects with Control J. Grouping these objects, then it would be easier to rotate them. So by selecting everything, you can simply just group them in one. Now from here, you can bring your objects back. You can see that the propellers are indeed one object now officially. So from here, we can deal with the outside of the engine, or rather the inside. You can take these loop cuts and essentially you can scale them inwards to give it a better effect, to give it more elements, more things to work with. Scale them backwards, you can scale them down. It's up to you to really customize this in your own way. You can also add loop cuts within the object. Obviously, you can see it has multiple faces. It has the exterior and the interior, so it's good to think about both. Then you can shade smooth, but of course you can see it's a little bit rough. So if you tab in, you can then add some additional loop cuts, and it will give it a rather sharp effect. Sort of sharpen off the edges, and this can be really cool. And from here, essentially, you can continue to sharpen off the edges, but inside where the propellers lay. Now, if you find that inside needs to be expanded, add a loop cut and expand it. That way, the propellers have space within the object to rotate without interfering with the other objects. I hope this makes sense in a way. Now, from here, we're working with the rear of our object, of our engine. So what you can actually do right here is just clean it up. You can add a face, and then you could insert, and you can insert it once more, and you can extrude inwards. From here, you're only limited by your imagination. You can see just a simple few inserting of the faces and extruding can really make a difference. And once you're ready, you can delete that face, and you can see how much cleaner this looks, how much better it looks. That is your airplane engine. My microphone sort of cut out for a moment. So for a moment I was just talking and I was just modeling, and I was talking but it wasn't recording. So I do apologize. But if you actually want to fix this up just a little bit, we can add a loop cut right there to just, yeah, make that look okay. Yeah, how would we animate this? Like, if I added a keyframe right there, then I move this up to, let's say, 100 frames, and I rotated this. Let's say I rotated this on the y-axis 180 degrees. Let's just say that, and I pressed I once again to add another keyframe. Would it take effect? It does take effect. And let's move our end keyframe down to 100. Possibly we can keep this playing on a loop. Let's see what happens. So, let me know. Let me know if that works. Let me know if that works, ladies and gents. We've made an airplane engine and we've actually animated it. If you wanted to make it more intricate, yeah, we could make it more intricate, but that's kind of like a story for another time, isn't it? It's kind of like a story for another time. Congratulations, you're an engineer. I've given you your degree from Arcade Studio, from Polygon Arcade. You've got your degree. You're finally an engineer. Go out there and make an airplane engine. I swear to God. Do not do that. Do not do that. Please don't do that. If you are studying to be an engineer because you want to make airplane engines, I mean, it's a lot of us as kids, if you enjoy designing or if you enjoy engineering, we've all dreamed of, sort of building airplane engines or manufacturing or designing airplanes or, some real Iron Man stuff. We've all had that vision. It can't just be me, right? Come on now, it can't just be me. Anyway, from here, I'm just going to play with the mockups. I'm just going to try to find a way to sort of create a cool thumbnail. Actually, I kind of already have a scene prepared. I have these sort of like preset scenes prepared in my tutorials folder. And what I can do is I can just copy and paste a scene that I've already created, use some of the lighting, use some of everything that's already done to just speed up this process. So like I said, I already have a scene prepared. So I'm going to hide these objects. I'm going to hide them for a moment. I'm going to press Control V to paste all of this. Shouldn't be in mocap at the moment. Anyway, this is my scene that I was doing in a previous tutorial. So what I can essentially do is I can change a few things rather quickly. For anyone who did watch this tutorial, I hope you enjoyed it. It was a rather interesting tutorial. So what I can quickly do is I can quickly move around these things. And then whenever I'm ready, I can bring my airplane engine back. And if we wanted to, we can go into render and see what that looks like. And of course, you know, this probably looks a little bit terrible. So because the scene is not really built for an airplane engine. So then what I can essentially do is I can sort of just move around my objects to sort of aid this this process. And we do have a camera. Camera is already there. We already have a camera. I can point the camera at my airplane engine, and I can sort of move. Anyway, I'm gonna end the tutorial here for a moment. Hope you enjoy that though. And as you can see, airplane engine still rotates. Even if I put this in render, we might wanna denoise this a little bit. Yeah, you know, it animates. So as you can see, my computer, my graphics card cannot keep up with this render, unfortunately. So that's just that's just what it is at the moment, unfortunately. So that is it. I'll see you in our next video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video today. Subscribe to see more. Leave a like, leave a comment to join this community. And I'll see you in our next video.